The next step is going to be installing your 750 watt power supplies. You should have two of these, so take the first one out of the box. Take the plastic bag off and remove, and store the power supply cable somewhere safely. Place the power supply in on the left hand side of the rig. Now you're going to go ahead and screw in this power supply using 3 of the large screws. The first one goes in the PSU bracket that you mounted to the frame. The second one goes in the left hand top side, and the third one in the bottom left side. Make sure all 3 screws are now tightened. Now it's time to grab the second power supply unit. This time with the second power supply unit, we're going to mount it on the right hand side. And this time it's going to go in sideways. You're going to want the cables at the bottom to go down the bottom as you're mounting the power supply in the case. If you look at it from the front side, you'll be able to see the power cable option sits at the bottom. You can now screw this power supply in using the right hand 2 screws. You can now place the GPU holder bar in, and that will keep your power supply secure. Screw in the right hand side, and then followed by the left hand side. Note the screw on this side comes from the inside rather than from the outside. Now we're going to want to go ahead and unbundle the stack of cables that comes at the back of the power supply. Our next task is to connect these 2 power supplies to the motherboard. In order to complete this task, we're going to need a double PSU cable. The double power supply cable includes a primary and a secondary. The primary is the one that will actually receive motherboard power. The secondary one will simply turn on the power supply. You want to attach the primary one to the right hand side power supply. You can use a cable tie to keep these nicely in order. So first of all, plug this 24-pin connector into your motherboard, the little connection bit facing towards you. Then we're going to place the cable underneath the bar. You're going to go ahead and connect the secondary power supply. And remember, the secondary power supply goes to the secondary connector, which is the one with the small cable coming from it. And now it's time to connect the primary power supply. Then we're going to have a look for the CPU power cord. It'll be the cord that's marked CPU. You'll need to find this from the primary power supply. And this is going to go ahead and connect to the main board. You may wish to cable tie this before so it's nice and tidy. Whilst it does have 2 connectors, you normally only require 1 for this motherboard. You better locate the CPU socket just to the right of the CPU. Go ahead and plug in that connection. and then you can tidy it up with cable ties. This frame comes with some useful holes along the front of the arch frame, which you can use to push cable ties through. Keeps the cabling nice and tidy. Now is a good opportunity for us to turn on the rig and make sure everything's working correctly and configure the BIOS settings. So first of all, plug in the power switch cable onto the motherboard. You may wish to tie that power switch cable off on one of the sides of your frame. Then go ahead and plug in the power cord into each of your power supplies and make sure the power button is on, and then hit the power switch button to start the rig.